If you clicked on this video, I'm going to assume you know what a LUT is. LUTs are really cool. You can download them for free, you can buy paid ones from your favorite creators, and the reason you'd even use a LUT to begin with is efficiency. You can throw it onto your log footage and in like 1 or 2 clicks, you've got an awesome looking shot. In this video, I'll be walking you guys through how I use LUTs to color grade my footage in post, as well as how I use them in camera with my Lumix S9 and my S5 Mark II to color my footage whilst I'm shooting it. A quick recap. LUTs are presets. They are essentially files that tell the color information in your footage to be a different color, whatever it is. It gives your footage a creative look. Some LUTs are purely technical. It may just turn your log footage into Rec 709 footage, and that just shows one of the many ways that LUTs are extremely useful. It can be a creative tool or a technical tool, but the point is it gets you from beginning to end very, very fast. But then why do so many people have disappointing results with LUTs? And I'm including myself here. Even some of my own LUTs don't really work for a handful of the shots that I capture. So why is that? Hell, I've even had a load of comments already, I still get them, about how my color grading has been off, and I've figured it out in the skin tones. It's an issue. We'll touch on that in a moment. The problem often isn't the LUT itself. Usually it's matching the LUT with the footage. The real power comes from knowing when to use them and having a workflow that has them working for you and not against you. Often it can be something as simple as adjusting the exposure, be it your shadows, midtones, highlights, or the overall exposure, or even your white balance. And sometimes to make the shot look good, it can just be as simple as reducing the strength of the LUT itself. Here is exactly how I apply LUTs to speed up my color grading. For me, there's 2 kinds of LUTs. They're what I call full LUTs, and then there's what I call light LUTs. A full LUT has a conversion LUT built into it, as well as the creative look that the LUT then applies, hence the name full. Whereas a light LUT only has the creative look inside it and doesn't have the Rec 709 conversion LUT, hence the name light. Kind of like Coke and Coke Light, or you know. The reason you may come across differences in LUTs like this is because some creators want to leave their LUTs open-ended so that you can apply it to any camera regardless of which brand you own. For example, my Fujifilm and Kodak LUTs, link below, have both a Rec 709 folder and then just the normal folder. I made my LUTs for Lumix cameras, but I didn't want to limit it only to people who have Lumix cameras. If you have a Sony camera, it just means going through the extra step of applying a conversion LUT to turn your S-Log footage into Rec 709. Then you can throw on that Kodak Rec 709 version LUT, and boom, you have the same look as what a Lumix user would get by just using the full LUT of that Kodak LUT. This is definitely something you want to double check before you purchase or download your next LUT. See whether it includes a conversion LUT or not, just so you know if you, need to take care of the conversion LUT yourself. But even with my full LUTs, the ones that have the Vlog to Rec 709 conversion and then the creative look thrown on top, I still go in and make adjustments to things like the exposure, saturation, white balance. Hell, I might even tweak further things like the hues of different colors if something doesn't look quite right to me. If you skip that step, your footage could look wrong 90% of the time because you're just assuming the LUT will do all of the work for you. And that's not the case with it. LUTs, I think, get you 80 to 90% of the way there. Sometimes you get lucky and you nail it and it's like the smallest adjustment and you're good. You know, they got you 99% of the way there. But some LUTs, you can make them fit, but they're gonna take a bit more work. Maybe it only gets you 75% of the way there. And again, often it's just a small thing. But once you do that, you have a nice balanced image that looks the way that you want it to look creatively. Using a LUT, I am saving hours, honestly hours of my time in the color correction and color grading process. But here's the danger. If you lean on LUTs too much, you can actually end up making your footage worse. And I have literally been a case study example for this. The key is very simple. It is to learn to make the adjustments in your LUT, like I said already. But where I was a case study for this was, well, sometimes the LUTs may not be right, and you may have to go in and fix them yourself. So where a lot of people were commenting saying my color grading was off were in the skin tones. They were very red. Now I kind of get flushed anyway, I get very hot, and so my skin will flush a little bit, but not to the degree that I was looking in the clips. And at first I did put it off to, oh, well, I live in a hot country, so it's probably that. But I did some digging, and it turns out the issue was that, now this might get a little bit technical, so I'll try and make it as simple as I can, but basically the hue and saturation curves were adjusted so that the luminance for the reds were brought down, which would darken the reds in the shot, and then the saturation was also brought up for the reds. Now, for anything else that's red, this can actually create a nice looking color. It's kind of like a deep, saturated, warm red. It looks very interesting, but on skin tones, it doesn't. I mean, since living in Bangkok, I have finally developed a little bit of a tan, but before that, I was as pale as a piece of paper. So I knew something was wrong when looking back at older videos before I kind of had this tan going on. And yeah, I was wrong. I went back, fixed it. The new LUTs, as you can see, now have this fix, and I no longer look like a flushed tomato. I instead look, well, like a person. And that is why it's so important that if you apply a LUT, you know how to fix the shot to make the LUT work for you, not against you. Little nuanced things like adjusting the luminance of a hue or adjusting the saturation of a color, things like that actually go a long way. But here's a question for you. What if you could skip all of this color grading? What if you could save even more time in the editing process by not having to color grade at all? That's why one of my favorite features of the S9 and the S5 Mark II, and of course all of the newer Lumix cameras as well, this isn't just limited to this camera or that one, it is the real-time LUT feature. Now, what the real-time LUT feature allows you to do, for those of you who have been living under a rock, is basically you can very quickly and easily, with the press of a button, apply a LUT to your footage and burn it in. That's it. Very, very simple. But it's actually one of the most powerful things that Lumix has implemented, and I think it's a lot better than people realize. Now, I already spoke about this in last week's video, so I'll try not to drag this part out, but to make sure you don't miss the next video, you should really hit that subscribe button. And while you're down there, headbutt the like button so YouTube knows to send this video out to more people just like you. When using LUTs, the ones that you're burning into your camera, what you see is what you get. Once you've burned in those colors, you cannot undo that. There's no secret log footage or file hidden underneath that. So if you ruin the shot, be it in exposure, contrast, you've used a black and white LUT, you can't then expect it to be a color file underneath that. It's gone. So it's ideal to have as much control over your image as possible while you're shooting. This was proving kind of difficult for me when I was using the real-time LUT feature. The LUTs I developed, they are fairly contrasty. Now, if you were applying these in post, it's not a problem because you can just adjust the shadows or the highlights and boom, your contrast issue is resolved because you're applying it to a log file. So you just make an adjustment before the LUT and boom, you've made a non-destructive change to your clip. But when you're doing it in camera, you're applying a file and you don't have all those controls. Enter what I call adjustment LUTs. Essentially, all it is a curve adjustment that I exported as a LUT and then making use of the My Photo style picture profile where you can apply two LUTs at the same time and blend them together, you're able to have full control over your image whilst still burning in the colors, contrast, and exposure that you want to your clips so you can skip the coloring process, but you can retain the highlights or push the shadows a little bit because they're a bit dark, and you can have full control over your image all in camera beyond the normal aperture, shutter speed, ISO, blah, blah, blah. It's made it so that I can use any LUT in almost any situation. And that is one of the reasons that LUTs and these Lumix cameras are so damn powerful. I mean, think about it. For client work that requires same-day delivery, say it's like an event or something, you can film everything with your LUTs burnt into your footage and just hand over the SD card and it's all done. And when it comes to my YouTube videos, I can skip an entire step of the creation process and save so much time and use that time to post more content. Now, if you want to try out the LUTs for yourself that you've been seeing throughout this video, you can check them out in the link in the description below, and there's a 45% site-wide sale running right now, so you can pick up all of my LUTs, including the adjustment LUTs I've mentioned, all for like almost half price off. These work in camera as well as in post. I use these LUTs for every single video, and I personally really like them and put a lot of work into them. Let me know what you guys think about them in the comments below if you have been using them. And now back to the video. So here's my ultimate tip for LUTs, right? Are you ready? Have a system. Because having a system where you use your LUTs consistently throughout your creation process means you can streamline the whole thing to essentially skip a step. But how do you do this? A, build up a small LUT library of LUTs that you can trust to consistently deliver across multiple types of images. Some of the LUTs I've made work better for more shots than others. Some only work for specific types of shots. And so with that, I don't use those LUTs as often as the ones that work for a broader amount of clips. It could be down to exposure, contrast, just the look itself, whatever it is, it's subjective, and that'll be up to you. And being real with you guys, I use my Kodak LUTs a lot more than my Fujifilm LUTs. So when I am hitting the LUT button on the back of my S9, I'm often selecting between a handful of the ones from my Kodak pack. B, match your in-camera LUTs with the LUTs on your laptop that you use in post. Maybe you don't want to burn the footage in, but you'd rather apply that LUT to a monitoring image where you're not burning it in, but you're seeing what it's going to look like once you do color grade it. Make sure you have the same library of LUTs on your camera or monitor as well as on your laptop, so that when it comes to going from shooting to editing and color grading, you have no surprises. And now finally, C, treat the LUTs as a starting point, not a finishing point. LUTs can get you like 90% of the way there. You might get lucky and it might be a one-click and done situation, but majority of the time when you apply a LUT to your clips, you're going to have to make adjustments. It's just a fact. As someone who's been doing this for over a decade, LUTs have rarely been a one-click fix for my log footage. You have to make the adjustments, be it for contrast, your exposure, for your shadows, midtones, or highlights. Maybe you need to tweak the saturation. Maybe you need to tweak a specific hue. Or you may just have to reduce the intensity of the LUT itself and build on the creative look a little bit more manually. Treating LUTs like a one-click preset will only lead to disappointment and ultimately make you not want to use them anymore, when in reality, they are one of the most helpful tools I have ever come across in all of filmmaking. They can just take a little bit more work to get working across all your footage. If you've been watching me for a while, you probably know that I've been using Lumix cameras for quite a while now. In fact, I've had this S9 for like a year now. So using LUTs are a very easy thing for me because of the ecosystem that Lumix have made. But if you want to see all the other reasons that I shoot on Lumix cameras, you should check out this video over here.